Hi, welcome to the second lesson. In this lesson we're going to be looking at how to play chords, what they are, how important they are, and how to get songs out of them. At this stage you should have picked your guitar, got yourself an amp, got the guitar in tune, practiced moving all four fingers with your sonic shapes, and you should also know the names of all of the strings. We should also be aware that these are the frets, this is the body, the bridge, the headstock, and generally aware of the names of parts of the guitar. We should also remember that we're numbering our fingers 1, 2, 3, and your pinky's number 4. When I state that we're going up the neck, we're moving in this direction. That's from the headstock towards the body, because that makes things go up in pitch. And when we're moving down the neck, we're going this way, the opposite. Makes kind of sense. Okay, so chords are a group of notes that sound reasonably harmonious with each other. Some chords sound more harmonious than others, the majority of which are major or minor. Okay, 99% of the chords you're going to come across are just major and minor chords. There are many other types, sevenths, ninths, all that kind of stuff. Don't need to worry about that right now. Right, so a major chord and a minor chord. They all got different shapes and patterns that we need to learn on the fretboard. But to play any of these chords, you need to understand that we're going to say minor when it's minor, and we're going to say nothing when it's major. So if I ask for a G chord, we need to understand that's a G major. And when we ask for an E minor chord, well, we know that's minor, we stated it's minor. We're not going to learn two of the same type in this lesson. We're not going to learn an A and an A minor, so there shouldn't be any reason to get confused. Okay, within the last few years there's been a hell of a lot of hit records using 3 major chords and 1 minor. And back in the past, some old songs, we'll look at those as well, also did the same idea. So we're going to try and get to be able to play 4 chords. If we can play these 4 chords, we can play loads and loads and loads of songs. So the first chord we're going to look at uses only 2 fingers, then we're going to look at a chord with 3 fingers, and then we're going to look at another chord with 3 fingers, and then finally a chord using all 4 fingers, which is not that difficult, believe me. So the first one we're going to learn is E minor. You don't need to know why it's E minor, why it's a minor, just that's its name for the minute, okay? So there are basically 3 different ways of playing this, and they're all technically correct, so we need to be aware of them straight away. They're very, very simple. First thing we're going to do is take the first finger, and I'm going to put it on the second space, I'm going to call that second fret, second space, second fret, on the A string. Now, you should know the names of the strings by now, but if you're forgetting, it's the second to thickest one. So first finger goes dun, 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 just there. Now, in the same space, so this is the same fret space, on the next string, the D string, the next skinnier string, we're going to put the next finger. And that's going to come down, and there we get our E minor. You need to make sure that you're not squeezing and hitting all the other strings so that no noise comes out. You want to be up and get a good angle on that, arched away from the other strings so they can ring out. Okay, that's our first chord, done. E minor, brilliant, 1 in the bag. So sometimes we'll play it like this, but sometimes we might want to play it with our middle 2 fingers. So that's the exact same frets, the exact same strings, but it's the middle 2 fingers doing it. And on very rare occasions it is rather useful to play it with your last 2 fingers. I'm going from there to a chord that we're not going to do today, but if I'm going there to an F, that is a far easier change. So there are 3 different ways of doing this E minor. Okay, today this one or this one, absolutely fine, whichever you are more comfortable with, depending on your hand. We're all different. Okay, first chord done, E minor. Remember the name, E minor. Looks like that, sounds like this. Then we're going to learn our 3-fingered chord, and it's going to use your first, your second and your third, so that's quite simple. And this time it's your first finger on the second to skinnier string, which we should remember is called the B, and it's in the first possible space. Then we're going to take our next finger and we're going to jump over a string and we're going to jump into the next fret. So that's second finger, second fret on the E, A, D string. Then our third finger comes in on the third fret on the next string, which is the A string. So you should have top E, skinnier string, left blank. The next string, you should be in the first space. The next string, called the G, should be left blank. And then the D string should have your second finger in the second fret, and the A string, the second to thickest string, has your third finger in 1, 2, 3, like that. Dun, dun, dun. Once again, try an arch, wrist bent, good posture. Can make a massive difference. You're looking at the tips of your fingers trying to get these chords right, but sometimes the problem's coming from some other part where you're not sitting right and you're making life difficult for yourself by having your wrist in the wrong position. So for this one it's wrist quite low, guitar maybe up towards you a bit, and we get this chord. Now we don't really want the thickest string, the bottom E, so we want to put our third finger maybe so that it's just touching that string and killing it off dead. If it's perfectly neatly on the A string, the bottom E can come out. It's not the end of the world, but it's a bit of a dirty bottom end harmony, that. So if that finger's just a tiny bit further north, as it were, it kills that string off, stopping it making a noise, and therefore you get a neater sound. But you could also just be careful with your strumming and miss that string out. Okay, that's called C. That's a C chord. As I said earlier, if you don't state if it's major or minor, you know it's major. So technically speaking, that's C major, but we're only going to call it C. So we've gone from E minor to C. Okay, now we're going to learn our D chord. It's going to look like this, and we're going to do that by taking the first finger and putting it on not the skinniest, that's the top E, not the B, but the G in the second space. And then once we've got that, we're going to take our next finger and on the exact same space, exact same fret, but this time on the top E, on that skinny string, we're going to put that finger down. So now we should have something looking a bit like das. Then you're going to take your third finger and put it on the string in between in the next fret up the neck. So that's third finger, third fret, second to skinniest string known as the B. That's our D chord. Now, D chords, unlike C chords that are wrist round like this, D chords are very much wrist up. Maybe not quite that high, but wrist higher up. And that way they get to stand up on their tippy toes. And we actually, this wouldn't have been taught 50 years ago, but these days this is definitely the best way of doing it. You put your thumb over the top so that the bottom E is dead again. So there's two chords now where we don't want to hear that thickest string. So your thumb can kill that note by just lightly touching it. If you're just touching the string, it's dead. Then we get a D chord. So now you might want to start by strumming D downwards, but the A string, as we can hear here, sounds perfectly nice. So we can strum everything, even including strumming the bottom E, because we've killed it with our thumb. When you see guys on stage and girls rocking away and giving it some, and you think, oh, how can they be so accurate? They're not. They're just slapping every single string and using ideas like this where you mute off the strings that you don't want, so you can get a nice neat sound without needing to be too careful. Okay? So we've done E minor, we've done C, and then wrist up and thumb over a bit, we've got a D. Okay? So, final chord, G, the 4-fingered chord. So we'll do it in turn. We'll work out where this one goes, then this one, then this one, and then where your pinky goes. So, your first finger is going to go on the second space in the second to thickest string. That's the A string. A string, second fret, first finger, like that, bosh. Then, second finger goes on the thickest string, the bottom E, and that's going to go in the 3rd fret. And we want to be with your hand coming away, wrist around like this, so that you get those fingers on their tippy toes. You don't want your hand flat, killing off the other strings, like that. You want it arched up, like this. So, then, the next 2 fingers are both going to go in the same 3rd fret, same fret as your second finger. The 3rd finger goes on the B string, that's the second to skinniest. So you might want to tilt your wrist out this way. See that? Pivot your wrist that way a bit to get those to line up. And that's your 3rd finger on the second to skinniest string. Then we're going to put our pinky on the skinniest string, that's the top E. So we get 3rd fret covered, 3rd fret covered, this string left open, then this D string left open, then this A string covered in the 2nd fret, and then the bottom E, the thickest string, covered in the 3rd fret. 3, 3, nothing, nothing, 2, 3. Do that again. 3 for the top E. Your pinky's doing it. 3 for the B string. Your 3rd finger's doing it. Nothing on the G. Nothing on the D. Your 1st finger on the 2nd, and your 2nd finger on the bottom E. 3rd fret. So that's the G chord. Once again, it's a G major, but we just call it G. Let's get a good old look at that, like das. So, E minor, C, wrist round for D, wrist back and maybe angled a bit to get a G. Now, the speed of the change is learning to play the guitar. This is where the challenge is. Once you sort of feel comfortable in a chord, you can then go, alright, can I get comfortable in that one? Can I get comfortable in that one? And then, how quickly can you do it? Because even in a slow song, the change is quite quick. All of a sudden, it goes from one chord to another. And once you can change chord reasonably fast, that's it. You're playing guitar. You're a guitarist. Go out there, gig, busk, make some money. Do it. Okay? That is what you need to be putting your time and effort into, because it will pay off. It will pay off by rewarding you with being able to play hundreds and hundreds of songs and be in the life of every party. Okay, that's it for this video. I'm going to do another video where I show you how to use these chords, some strumming patterns, lots and lots of different songs. We're going to involve a capo, which looks like this, which might be the next thing to purchase in your guitar itinerary, and we're going to have a lot of fun playing some songs, so I look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you.